But first and foremost, we had a battle of top 10 teams tonight in the Pac-12 as Arizona outlasted UCLA 76-66, getting revenge for a win that UCLA got in Pauley Pavilion about 9 days ago. 16 points, 5 assists from Kirk Kirsten. Mike, I'm going to you first on this one, man. It's your first time on the show. Give us something insightful. How good is Arizona when Kirk Kirsten can play the way that he played tonight?
Oh, they're terrific. And remember, Benedict Mathurin only had 11 points tonight. I thought they missed opportunities to emphasize him a little bit more than they did. I think he's fantastic. I mean, every time I see him, he makes some little move that takes my breath away. And then I look at the box score at the end of the game and I'm like, man, I think there's more in there. The same thing when they played a week ago. He did 4 or 5 things that were outstanding, but the numbers weren't great and obviously not terrific tonight. But they shot the ball really well. Arizona did. I thought UCLA was much too stagnant on offense, way too much individual one-on-one taking on the Arizona defense. And when they abandoned that and they got back in the game, thought that they went to Cody Riley too much down the stretch because he was really struggling with Christian Coloco. And why wouldn't you? I mean, the guy's amazing, blocking shots, and he's such a good defensive player. And I thought that Juzang was just, I thought he had a chance to really get going, and it never quite happened.
Yeah, I thought that what happened down the stretch was it felt like Jaime Jaquez. I mean, he hasn't played in what is it, like 6 or 7 days, right? With the COVID protocols and
right.
And Jaime Jaquez it was Juzang with the COVID protocols. Jaime Jaquez had the ankle injury, right, was banged up, and it felt like, Ashton, that down the stretch those guys, it just looked like they were gassed. It didn't look like UCLA was playing at 100%. When you have 2 studs like that, and the guys getting your shots are Tiger Campbell and Cody Riley, that probably means that those guys aren't at 100%.
Oh, for sure. And I think the biggest difference was, especially late in the game, the sense of urgency defensively really hurt UCLA, especially on closeouts. Arizona did a good job of knocking down 3-point shots. I thought Tommy Lloyd did a really good job of throwing the ball inside to Bellis, especially in the beginning of the game, in the high-low action. They did a really good job of Christian Coloco to Bellis, a really underneath, just finishing and pounding the ball underneath. And you could tell as the game got going, that's when the perimeter shots, started to open up for Arizona, and the game just kind of went their way.
Mike, what do you make of these 2 teams kind of from a national perspective, right? Like, I think it's become pretty clear that they are the 2 best teams in the Pac-12, and it's those 2, along with Gonzaga, that are the class of the West Coast. So what do you make of them? They split their home and home this season. I think you can argue that UCLA probably has some better wins. Arizona may be a little bit more talented, and they're a little flashier and a little bit more fun to watch when they're playing well. So what do you make of these 2 teams?
Well, I think that they're both terrific, and it's a little unfortunate that there aren't more teams in the conference that can stand up and challenge them. It's bad for them because it makes it harder to justify seeding them high because they're both great. So if you do it on talent or performance or predictive metrics, then you can say, okay, they're both great and they should get high seeds, but they don't get the number of opportunities to get quality wins that others do. And now they've both faced each other and split. And so obviously that if everything works out and they're able to get all the games scheduled, you each also get 2 games against SC. And that's a very good basketball team and a worthy opponent and a quality opportunity for each of them. But beyond that, I mean, we watched the Stanford game at Pauley last Saturday. Stanford should have put up a better fight than they did. The other teams in the league just don't seem to be able to muster the level of consistency. Oregon is I think an important opponent, an important team for the Pac-12, because now that they have the Southern California sweep, can they add more to that by dominating the other teams in the conference, by maybe getting a win or against the Wildcats or a second time around when they're up in Oregon? the Southern California team. So can they add something to that and maybe get another team into the tournament, and then maybe you beef up the opportunity to gain accomplishment by Arizona, UCLA?
Yeah, because I mean that's the big concern with this league right now, right? You're looking at it, and you see USC, as long as they don't do anything dumb, they're probably going to be able to get in. They just have good enough metrics, and you're going to have a good enough record. But if you want to get more than 3 teams in the turn, I don't know who it could be other than Oregon for that 4th team. Is anyone else in your mind close to the bubble at this point?
No, I got Stanford in the picture prior to the UCLA game. That fell off with their performance, and I don't have anybody else in the picture at this point. I think that one of those teams, Washington State, Washington, I guess Colorado. I mean, one of them would have to go on a tear through February and basically rule. And none of those teams has suggested that they're capable of that. And Oregon, of course, as I said before, they are hanging by a thread, so to speak. On my bracket, I think the last time around we had them in a first 4 game. Maybe the last 2 times around we had them there. But I think we had them after the SoCal sweep. We had them up to a 9, but then they dropped a few. So they really need to have a strong February. They don't need to win every game like some of those other teams, but they need to have a strong February to get away from the danger zone of the first 4.
Right. Ashton, I want to ask you about Arizona. What do you think the ceiling is for this group? And what do you think it's going to take for them to be able to land some kind of consistency to get to that ceiling?
Well, I think they could be a Final Four team. You talk about top to bottom, they have what it takes. They have a dynamic player in Mathurin. They have a solid point guard in Kirk Kriisa. They have the bigs down low where they can, force feed Christian Coloco to Bellis like we saw in the beginning of the UCLA game tonight. Now it's just going to be consistency from the perimeter. I think the better they shoot it, especially from 3, the better they'll be. And you talk about playing at home. You look at that crowd today was unbelievable. And then, I think Kirk Kriisa is going to be the key to their team because he brings energy. Guys feed off of him. He really defends, but when he makes shots, it opens up down low for Coloco, for Tubelis. Those guys can really finish. They can make plays, and they can pass out the post as well. So when a guy like him is making shots, the sky's the limit for them. And I think they can definitely get to a Final Four.
Yeah, I think Kerr's the X factor, Mike. I kind of teased it a little bit at the Open, but when he's playing well, he's not a guy that's ever unconfident. I feel like he's the only guy that can be confident shooting when he's missed 17 straight shots in a row, like he did earlier on this season. But when he's playing well and when those shots are going in and when he's able to create off the bounce and make something happen, I feel like he can get a little bit too excitable at times. Like sometimes the moment might be a little bit too big for him because it feels like he just wants it too much at times. But when he is doing what he did, especially in the first half tonight, I thought that he was terrific. And that's why they were able to make that run and get out to that. What were they, 14 in the first half at one point? I feel like you talk about stars, then you talk about X factors or whatever cliche you want to use. I feel like he is the X factor for this group.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about his X factor ability is the willingness to shoot from 28. Not hesitating at all. And that was when the game he took a 28-footer from right in front of the bench. And so if the coach doesn't like the shot, he is right there. And he didn't hesitate. And I think the willingness and ability to do that and to make that shot it's a weapon because it stretches the court. It makes you harder to guard when you can go out that far and people have to honor it. All of a sudden, there's so much room inside for someone like Mathurin to hit the lane and to either float it up for a lob or go up himself. So I think that's a real weapon. And I think Mathurin is a tremendous player. I really like him. When I see him, I see worlds of pro potential that is out there for him to reach. But I agree that Kriisa is someone who has a lot of different ways to help that team win. And, that range is where it begins.
Yeah. One more thing I want to ask you, Ashton, before we move on to UCLA is I thought Dalen Terry was at times the best player on the floor. He finished, he didn't quite get to a triple double. He's going to get one before the season is over, but he finished with 10 points, 9 boards, 7 assists, and no turnovers. He is the quintessential. You look up glue guy in the dictionary. He is the glue guy. He brings all of those other pieces on this team together.
Oh, definitely. I thought his best attribute tonight was guarding Johnny Juzang. He just did a really good job of keeping him in front. And I think that's what really separated UCLA tonight was Juzang didn't really get off like he should have in past games. So it was due to Terry, being active defensively, really being in gaps, keeping them in front, and then just contesting every shot. That's all you can ask for. And he fills up the stat sheet. He's a motor. He's a glue guy, like you said. He has an unbelievable motor, and he gives them energy, especially when you're at home. You need a guy like that can give you energy, do the dirty work, defend, and you don't have to call a play for him. That's one of his best attributes also. So he's going to be a key piece moving forward for Arizona for sure.
Yeah, he knocked out a couple threes tonight that were really big in the second half.